Hi guys, welcome back. This is Eric Lowe from Swordwind Historical Swordsmanship. In a previous video, I shared an interpretation of Marozzo's abattimento for the unaccompanied sword. In a subsequent video, I broke down the first third of that form, and today we're going to be breaking down the second half of the form, I should say the second third of the form, which deals with thrust defenses. First third of the form dealt with various uses of the falso, both the falso dritto and the falso manco, both attacks to the opponent and uses of the falso as a parry. Now we are purely on the defensive and we are dealing with thrusts. We start this section as we ended the last in a coda lunga alta with the left foot forward and the hand not held at shoulder height, but a little higher off the ground than we would in coda lunga stretta. Marozzo gives us, he says, 4 perfect counters to a stoccata, that is to say a low thrust, and interestingly he gives them to us in the text one after the other, and then he specifically pauses and says, I guess if you're going to be doing this as practice at home, you're going to need me to tell you what the opponent is doing so that you can string these together. I think that's an interesting bit of context into the way Bolognese forms can be used. There is a partner involved. Manciolino talks about needing 2 people to do these for real. And there's certainly always an opponent envisioned, frequently, although not always in our texts, with the opponent's action specified. But at least in this case, Marozzo is clearly imagining that the student may be doing this at home as a form of solo practice, and so he makes some provision for how to string these 4 together. The 4 parries are parry with a mezzo squalembrato and give a punta reversa, parry with a mezzo squalembrato and hit with a reverso tondo, parry with a falso dritto and hit with a reverso squalembrato, or step out to the side and give a reverso traversato to the opponent's sword arm. But those don't string together particularly well, and we're going to be doing the version that Marozzo specifies for home practice, where they do. So we're going to start in coda lunga alta. Thrust comes in, we step out with our right foot, not straight forward, but around the rim of the imaginary circle we're fighting on. We hit the opponent's sword with our true edge, and then we give them a punta reversa, which he says should go into guardia di faccia, as I'm doing here. Then he says, imagine that the opponent, imagine that we have not skewered our opponent through the face. Imagine that the opponent is throwing some sort of mandrito. Step to your left and parry that with your true edge in the manner of guardia di entrare, which for Marozzo was always on the left, even though Dalla Gocchia, writing about 40 years later, is always going to have guardia di entrare on the right. From here, we cast our foot back, slice them in the temple with a reverso, and hey look, we're back into coda lunga alta. So that part again, step out and cover, thrust, parry, hit, and back out. We're now ready for our second thrust defense from coda lunga alta. Same thrust comes in, we start with the same parry, hit with a reverso tondo, back out with a reverso squalembrato, and hey look, we're back into coda lunga alta again. Once more. From here, we use a different starting parry. Thrust comes in and we are supposed to hit it up high with a falso dritto, while again stepping off to our right. Then we give a slicing reverso to the thigh, a falso dritto to the hand, and we come back down with the fendente into the face as we cast our foot back. And hey look, we are in coda lunga alta again. So once more, parry, hit the hand, hit the face as we back off. Our last parry is a reverso traversato to the arm. If you have any background in Lichtenauer's Kunst des Fechtens, this feels very much like a Krumpau to me. It is an awkward, it is a somewhat awkward motion just from a dead stop in Codalunga Alta. You can certainly step out, kind of place your sword and slice. To get any kind of cleaving motion, you really need to wheel as you go. Marozzo doesn't specify which of these two we should be doing. From a dueling perspective, simply placing the sword to cover the arm and then slicing perhaps, or slicing out would do. For form practice, because we are coming back with this reverso squalembrato, we can let the arm wheel around and then hit, because we're already in motion and we want to keep that momentum going. Which of these two is better? I think that depends on the context. If your sword is already moving, certainly it's a very Bolognese principle to continue to use that momentum. If you happen to be caught at a dead stop, I don't think there's anything inherently un-Bolognese with essentially placing the sword over their arm and then slicing out. Because we're in motion, we're going to be doing the first. So we are casting our foot back, we hit Codalunga Alta, we keep going, thrust comes in, step out, cut the arm off, recover with a mandrito traversato, and reset into Codalunga Alta again. At this point, we move on to the last of Marozzo's sections that deal with thrust defenses. Interestingly, this fifth defense is not listed as a perfect counter to a stoccata, perhaps because it doesn't involve any kind of action against the incoming thrust itself. Even that last one at least places steel over the opponent's thrusting arm. In this one, we're going to avoid the thrust entirely using nothing but footwork. As I said in my last video, I think that this section is placed at the end because the footwork is more demanding. So we're back in Codalunga Alta, the thrust comes in, and Marozzo says simply step out to the side and give him a stoccata in the flank. Well, if I do that nice and sort of staidly like this, then I am likely to get caught as that thrust just tracks me. So in order to make this work at all, I've really got to jump. The footwork has to be very sprightly. It's got to take the opponent by surprise, otherwise that thrust is just going to track you and hit you in the chest as it was originally. In terms of that jump here, we want to make sure that we're using both sides of our body, as well as the fact that our body is turned in Codalunga Alta. So I kind of throw my right side of my body around the circle while springing off with my left, and that propels the thrust anyway. I then withdraw my thrust and reset into Codalunga Stretta, which is where the last part of the form is going to begin. In terms of Marozzo's text, what we've got here are 3 perfect defenses to a stoccata, a 4th perfect defense to a stoccata, which again I think is of the 4, the hardest, the most demanding to pull off. That's the reverso traversato or the reverso traversato. A 5th, non-perfect, but apparently still worth conveying, defense to a stoccata, which is a jump thrust. That's 5 in all strung together in a way that the student is supposed to be able to practice at home. All 5 together, starting in Codalunga Alta: cover, thrust, parry, and slice. Cover, cut, recover, deflect, slice, hit, hit and withdraw, keep going, slice, and set. And lastly, thank you very much.